play a game?
Why, yes, I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Welcome to Shane Plays Radio, live from Little Rock. I'm Shane Stacks, your host. So glad you're here for Geek Talk Radio. Today we're going to be talking with Joe and Hannah Williams of Whalenought Studios about their excellent computer role-playing game, Serpent in the Staglands. After that, you'll hear my review of Justice League, Gods and Monsters, the new animated movie that's out from the DCU animated movie series. A couple of quick house cleaning notes, and then we'll jump right into talking to Joe and Hannah, or Hannah and Joe, or the Whalenought folks, however you want to refer to them. But before we do that, just real quick, always know that you can, as the show's going on, I do this every week, there is a blog post up at shaneplays.com right now. If you go there with your hot little fingers and check it out, there are show notes and links for what I'm going to be talking about today to make it easy. Like, oh, what was he talking about? Or how do I get to that? It's right there. Also, keep in mind that this show always goes out as a podcast following the live show. This is live right now. And you can keep up with that at iTunes or once again on my blog at shaneplays.com. It's also on Stitcher, and I've been pushing it out to some other places as well. Last, this is Live Talk Radio. You are welcome to call in at 501-823-0965. I'll give that number out again. It's 501-823-0965. It doesn't matter if you're local here in Little Rock on 96.5 FM, The Answer, or if you're listening online via online stream. Kendall, tell them that you're nice and you won't bite them if they call.
Yes.
Okay, you're nice. You will not bite them. Okay, Kendall's is operating the bridge of the Starship Enterprise in there in the control room. So, and last, we have sponsors. So glad to have them. So blessed. If you personally want to support this show, if you like this kind of content, you can support the show with as little as $1 per show at Patreon. Now, I've been saying Patreon. I'm not sure how to say it. So this week I'm going to say Patreon, like patron, patreon.com/shaneplays. There's also a link on the show notes at shaneplays.com. You don't have to. I'm not trying to guilt you, but if you like what you hear and you want to make sure it keeps going, then feel free. Okay, we're going to move right along into talking with the developers, the husband and wife team of Whalenought Studios, who have made several games, but right now are most well known in the game I'm playing is Serpent in the Staglands, which is it's an excellent game in its own right, but stylistically and in other ways, it's also a love letter to the role-playing games, the computer role-playing games of the 90s. So Hannah and Joe and Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us on, Shane.
You're welcome.
Thanks. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. So I'm excited to be talking with you. As you know, I think you've been seeing my tweets. I'm actually playing through the game right now, and doing a let's play of it, and I've really been enjoying it. So I just want.
That's fantastic to hear.
Yeah. No, I want to get that out of the way because I do want to talk about. Some people are like, oh, the game is this or the game is that. And I think it's actually helped you because it's fueled word of mouth. But I like the game. Okay.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that and anybody who's hears me talk about it or anybody who is watching the Let's Play videos that I'm doing, it's apparent that I'm enjoying the game. I think it's done extremely well. Now, and we'll get into this. It doesn't hold your hand at all. It's like, look, this is a old school, / hardcore computer role playing game, which is going to appeal to a lot of people. But there's other people that are gonna be like, what is going on here? Why are they being so mean to me? So,
right.
So, but anyway, I did mention earlier that you're actually a husband and wife development team, and you have other games under your belt than Serpent and Staglands. So if you just wanted to take a moment, introduce yourself, your studio, and maybe some of your other games, feel free, and then we'll move it over into Serpent and Staglands.
Sure. I guess our other games were kind of stepping stones to working on Serpent and the Staglands. That was kind of in the the background of all our other work, and we're kind of prepping towards that, trying to learn with the other ones. But we had some mobile games. One was called Bridge to the Moon, and that was kind of how to describe that? It was a platformer, and you would run around spheres. It was kind of like Super Mario Galaxy, I guess.
Okay.
Except it was 2D. And then our other one was Isle of Bones, and that was an action RPG. It was kind of like a roguelike game where you were a caveman and you were sailing around surviving island warfare.
And this was Isle of Bones?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's funny that the thing that all our games have in common is they're all no hand-holding. And
Yeah,
very
none of them.
difficult, and the reviews all reflected that.
Well, and some of the reviews, I think, were reflected it fairly, and in that, hey, there's no hand-holding, and that's just what it is. And then other reviews and comments were like, people were like, whoa, this game is, and I hate to say this, but this is what some people, it's broken. I don't feel that. Okay. I feel that it's, it's the, you need to read the manual, right? It's, and it helps to read the manual, and it helps to explore and play around. And yes, some fights, especially at the beginning of the game, you may have to do a few times to get a handle on what's going on. But it's a well done game. It's a beautiful game. The aesthetics of the game, which when it was first being hyped before it came out, a lot of people were mentioning Darklands. Darklands is a personal, favorite of mine from back in the 90s, and it does have a Darklands look. That kind of it's purposefully pixelated, I guess is the best way to do it, but it's done in a very, very appealing aesthetic. I mean, the design of it, I think is beautiful. Like I even mentioned when I'm talking about the game, when you're kicking off a spell, especially the blood cocoon, that kind of green, the green sort of shimmer before it kicks off, it just like, it's almost hypnotizing to me. It's just very vivid and brilliant. So,
oh, that's so nice of you to say all that.
yeah, well, no, I mean it. No game is perfect. It doesn't matter if it comes from a AAA studio or a one person in their base. No game is ever perfect, but there's a lot that I love about this game, and it blows me away that a game with this much polish on it was done by a 2-person team. That blows me away.
It was from the original Kickstarter to release, it was kind of a crunch, but we loved working on it. It was so fun, and one of the things that kind of helped us, like you mentioned, the graphics were kind of pixelated. Our original size for the game was like a DOS-sized game, and then it just kind of gives you more monitor space depending on how big your resolution is.
Right.
And so it's really emulating like a DOS-sized kind of pixel art game, just with as much monitor space as possible, which helped us in development because we didn't need to spend that much time on high-res assets or anything, but we could do as much as possible with that little amount of space that we could, and that was fun to work with. But I appreciate so much that you like the game. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I intend to play it till and I can tell it's going to be an effort of love, and I'm going to play it all the way through to the end. So,
out of curiosity, I haven't been able to watch one of the videos yet, but I'm wondering where you are in the game. Right
I'm one of those people that it takes me forever to finish a game because it absolutely drives me nuts to have any fog of war left, and I will go back and redo things. And so I just finished the Underneath of Lumentarg. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm about, 6-7 hours in, but a lot of that was playing with the UI, trying to figure out how does this game work, reading the manual, that sort of thing. And, I really enjoy it. Now let's do this for the sake of those people who are listening in. And I want to give a shout out real quick. I know at least one person they were like, oh, I'm tuning in. I posted some questions, or I let people post questions on RPG Codex that I'm going to work into the interview while we're talking. But Ninjerk said, hey, man, I'm tuning in. So let's give a shout out to Ninjerk and RPG Codex.
Ninjerk.
Yeah. So, and he's got a question that we'll work into this. So,
oh, terrific.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, he's got a question. So, but pretend I know nothing about Serpent and the Staglands and tell me what Serpent and the Staglands is.
it's I guess going as far back as possible for the description, it's like a pen and paper inspired game that is made for the PC, and you control up to 5 people, and you can build them with any kind of stats or skills that you'd like. And you are the character of a god who is trying to get back home pretty much, and he doesn't know how, and the game doesn't tell you how, so you have to figure that out. And I think that's probably the most basic concept I can give for the game.
Yeah, you actually start as a minor deity in a pantheon of celestials. I think that's kind of how I've read it put. And your portal gets closed. And you're like, hey, I can't get back to the moon. And then in your mortal guise, you're quite vulnerable. And so you have to, from there, adventure around and find out what's going on. Now, I'll point out a couple of things that there's a Let's Player YouTuber named Kill 10 Rats. I went and watched his stuff up until the point I was at, because I didn't want any spoilers, but sometimes I'll watch other people. Oh, okay, they figured out stuff the game I haven't. And there was a couple of things he pointed out, which I thought were worth mentioning. One, he's like, wait a minute, I was reading the manual or something, and I as the moon god did not create this portal. Somebody else created it. And then suddenly it's closed.
That's right.
Yeah, so he's like, that's interesting. And I didn't pick up on that.
Clue.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. He's like, somebody else closed this portal. The second thing is he Kill 10 Rats, the YouTuber, he pointed out, he's like, I liked the fact that you're basically, your whole motivation is to save your own skin. You're not out to save the world. You're like, what is going on around here? So a lot of computer role-playing games or traditional role-playing games, the setup is, the evil dark overlord is going to destroy, the plane of existence, go find the magical jeweled bone. And you know what I mean? And that's not the case here. It's you can play it very selfishly if you want to. You can be all about you.
It's designed that way. To kind of encourage you to do that. You're kind of that potentially evil dark sorcerer at the end of a video game, but that's your character.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the choice you can make too. You can choose to run around and help people and play a more heroic character, or you can just look out for your own skin.
Right. And I've noticed that already. Tell us about, the world is Vol, V-O-L, which is very gothically, supernaturally kind of Transylvanian. Tell us more about Vol, V-O-L.
We, like you said, we wanted to come up with a fantasy world that wasn't, like a Lord of the Rings or necessarily too stereotypical of a lot of fantasy. We wanted to ground it kind of in a reality, and so we kind of set the world in a Bronze Age. And then after that, we kind of went from there and started to develop like all the unique races for it. And then this location in particular is very kind of Romanian inspired with folklore, a little bit of Slavic in there. And that was a lot of fun to do research for those kinds of monsters and kind of themes. And I think that kind of helped develop kind of the theme for the game too. But Vol, we're probably going to be continuing exploring different parts of that world in future games, but it's kind of, I guess, similar to Darklands. It's supposed to be kind of inspired by our own kind of existence. Like, even though you're a god, you can die, and
and can you die? Yeah,
right.
At the beginning, a fox can stomp you into the ground. So, boy, can you?
So, it's not like quite as grim as something as, Game of Thrones. It's a little more, presented in a lighthearted manner in that. But, it's a world that's supposed to be very relatable despite having, magic and all these kind of fantastical creatures. They're more mythological based. And it was a lot of fun to design that kind of stuff.
Well, that leads me, one of the questions I was going to ask, you have your traditional wolves, and I was in one area just outside Lumentarg, and I probably fought 43,000 dogs. I called it a metric poop ton of dogs. But there's dogs.
Dog fight, yep.
Yeah, that dog fight I was like, where are all these dogs coming from? But so there's dogs, wolves, foxes. You can say what ho duck. You can talk to ducks, and you can talk to chickens. But then there's also, you have typical stuff that you would be familiar with, like imps there are imps that either want to fight you or riddle you. And then there are there's like things called shroomers. Now, did you come up with the shroomer, or is that based on something, you know, from mythology?
No, we came up with the Shermer.
Okay.
We just thought it would be a fun creature. I think Joe drew it, and then we kind of based the whole creature around its general body and appearance.
So, and my sense is it's kind of a fungus man, kind of a plant man.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, and I thought, at first I was like, are they teleporting? Is the game bugged? But they jump in and out of holes. Like, I'm like, yeah. At first, but that, which was clever, because I don't think I've ever seen a game mechanic. I've seen, obviously, teleporting, and I've seen where a creature will burrow in and then burrow back out. But if there's holes around, they'll jump in a hole and pop out another one. And that took me 2 or 3 fights to catch on to what was going on.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've enjoyed fighting shroomers, and then you have the suicidal exploding fungus bombs or mushroom bombs.
Yeah.
And you know, and then I've run into skin stealers, you know, and then your average bandits and adventurers out there that are never do well.
So once you get out of the district you're in, Orf's Bridge, it starts to get a little more crazy.
Okay.
Like one of the things we had it was called the Harvester, and it's pretty much, I guess I'll give you a spoiler on that. It's almost impossible to kill unless you're extremely high level normally, but you have to kind of utilize either a skill or an item to get it on the ground. You have to make it slip or like throw a trap down so it's grounded, and then it kind of exposes its inner. It's also a mushroom creature, and so it kind of exposes its inner.
Let me write this down.
Torso plates, and then you can kill it a lot easier.
Yeah.
So we tried to come up with, the world is a very kind of fun guy populace for the entire Staglands, so we tried to come up with fun creatures that might come up from that.
So
the came from.
So I'm making a note. Joe and Hannah tell all. Make Harvester prone, then kill. Yeah. Okay, so I'm writing this down. Now, okay, so the Staglands is the continent you're on.
It's the peninsula.
Yeah, so it's the peninsula, and it's not the entire area. But you know, I love the name has such a great, I don't know, imagery to it. Serpent and the Staglands. You know, and I'm curious to find out what the serpent is. I'm sure it's something that's behind the portal closing or whatever has happened.
Sure.
But that leads me to, you know, you mentioned Hannah a moment ago. You said, well, Joe drew it, and then I kind of programmed it. Who does what? You know, you're together collectively, you're Whalenought Studios, and that's WHALE, like a whale, and then not like nothing, like NOUGHT. So Whalenought. First of all, what's behind the name, and then if you could tell me who does what in the development process.
Sure. So Whalenought is a mythological creature that we made up that's part whale and part dreadnought, and like a battleship.
Oh, okay.
And then, so I do the development and writing, and Joe does the art and animation. And then we have a composer do the music for us. Okay,
so let me back that up. Joe does the art and animation, and then you do the development, like the actual coding, and the writing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are you working in C++, or what are you working in on this game? If you don't,
we're using the Unity engine, and we're using C#.
Okay, so that just once again shows the strength of the Unity engine for what you can do. You know, so many games are being done in Unity with a completely different artistic styles and gameplay. So that another feather in the cap of Unity there. So, now did you go ahead?
Oh, I was just going to say, Unity, you know, it has its downfalls and its strengths, but, you know, you can build something up from a prototype into a game, you know, quickly with all the different kind of features it has in it. And, you know, it obviously saves a small company like ours a lot of time and money not to have to hire out or build our own engine or something. So that's been kind of great to work with in that end.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, everybody that I talk to basically says it brings a lot to the table. I know there's a learning curve, obviously. Okay, now, Hannah, how did you get into C#, or how did you get into programming?
Well, I'm mostly self-taught. I actually went to school for journalism, and we did some interactive journalism, and it has a little programming, but I really liked it, so I kind of continued to learn on my own. So doing Whalenought is actually kind of a fun mesh of a lot of my interests with the writing and the development. But, a lot of it is just figuring it out as we go in the last game. I think our next game is going to be a lot more efficient process.
Okay.
I know a lot more than when we started Serpent in the Staglands.
Well, hopefully so. I mean, I've heard other game developers say that the tools change so often and the process changes so often. The things you think you've learned, you didn't by the time you get to the next one. But I totally hope that it carries over for you. So, and this next question. Well, actually, I want to ask you, Joe. Now you're more art and animation. How did y'all end up in game development, I guess? How did y'all take those skills and end up in game development?
It's something that I've always wanted to start to get in. I've always kind of been artistic, and I wanted to use that in some way. I thought about comics or something when I was really young, but eventually I started playing so many games, and I really liked that medium, and I got really interested in that for a long time. And so it's great to finally being able to do that. But when we started dating, we'd play games a lot. And I would, we'd play, D2 or something multiplayer, attempt to connect to Boulder's Gate online or Icewind Dale when that was still a complete hassle to do. And, that was really fun. And we really started to like it. We realized that we kind of had the skill sets needed. One of us, Hannah was doing a lot of freelance web design at that point and coding for that. And, we kind of had all the skill sets needed to start, actually making something. And that's when we started to do kind of those mobile games. And we were doing that on the side from our normal jobs, and then we started to release stuff, and people started to really like it, and we decided to see what we could do with our meager savings and start the company, and now Serpent the Staglands is out, and we're continuing that. It's been great.
Well, I don't want to go into the exact numbers because that's your business, but I am curious. Is it doing well enough that you want to keep going with either expansions to it or similar games? I certainly hope so.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's made thanks. It's made a modest amount for the type of game it is, and like you said before, I think word of mouth has helped tremendously with that. Our marketing budget was, our life expenses for the company, and so we didn't have a lot for it, but I think word of mouth helped to get around, and it's been enough where we are continuing with the expansion. We have a free expansion planned.
A free
expansion. And then we have we're kind of in R&D for our next project right now, but we'll probably be announcing more specifics on that later this year. But yeah, I think, we've had enough fans and people that have really enjoyed the work to want to see the next one and at least encourage us to keep doing the type of games we're doing. So we're definitely going to continue kind of making these pen and paper inspired games. That's what we love to do. And, it's great that we're able to have the opportunity to do that. Figure might as well.
Okay, well, I think that's great. That leads me into a question actually from RPG Codex user Fairfax. And he said, are the sales so far enough to fund the Spirit Realm and the North expansion? And what about the Verukov's King one? So is he talking about two different expansions? One of them...
Those were listed in our Kickstarter, and the first expansion, we got enough money to kind of set aside to start development funds on that, and that's what we're kind of in now. We didn't get enough probably to do all of them. There were kind of originally what they call them stretch goals on Kickstarter, and we didn't have enough to do those, and we probably won't just because the game didn't sell that much, but we have enough probably for that first expansion. But we're including some other themes from the other ones, and we've kind of adjusted it knowing it's going to be the only one for this version of the game. As far as a sequel or something, we're definitely planning on that after our next project. We'd love to return to Vol. It was such a fleshed out universe.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, the races.
And we'd love to return to it, and so we're definitely going to do that down the road. But for Serpent of the Staglands, it's going to have the free expansion, which we'll be announcing more stuff for later, which we've kind of amped up from the original plan for it.
Okay,
but not the other ones from the Kickstarter. No.
Okay, so let me make sure that I'm summarizing this correctly. There will be one free expansion And is that the Spirit Realm in the north, or do you know exactly what expansion it's going to be yet?
That one
It's
is,
for the Locavinian Isles, which
Okay.
are a little bit to the east.
Okay. Any? Do you have a rough time frame in your head when that might happen?
we're thinking development is going to be done probably by the end of the year. Whether that's out this year or not, we're not sure. But we'll probably have a more finite date down the road.
Okay. And is that only for Kickstarter supporters or anybody who bought the game?
No, it's just going to come as an update, a really
Okay.
big update.
A really big update.
You
Okay.
can download it right from however you normally get the updates for the game.
Okay. And then you definitely are going to do a sequel, but you have another project first.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Can you tease us in like an elevator pitch, because I have some other questions on what that other project might be?
Oh boy.
You don't have to.
It's no, that's fine. I suppose we're kind of waiting to talk about the absolute specifics for it until we have an official announcement. But we've listened to a lot of our fans, and they are our only audience. We don't have the mass market to appease. So, a lot of this has been listening to our fans, what they want, and it's of course continue to do what we want to do. It's a very different rule set, a lot of different mechanics, different art style. A lot of people had their differences on the pixel art, and which are understandable. It can be a little draining on the eyes if you're not.
Yeah, I mean that's a very
DOS-box.
That's a very subjective. I mean, I love it, but I'm a child of the
loved
80s.
working on it.
Yeah, but that's a very subjective thing. There's going to be some people that don't like it.
Yeah, and we're not necessarily just catering to those people, but we also would like to try something new. That was done for a very specific style, and I loved working in pixel art. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, y'all
we're going to be doing something different with that, and then it's not going to be a fantasy setting. We're kind of doing something different. We've been watching a lot of 80s sci-fi, cyberpunk movies.
Okay.
Escape from New York,
Yeah.
Brazil.
Escape from Blade Runner?
Really fun. Blade Runner.
You're going to do Escape from Blade Runner. You heard it here first, folks. No, I'm joking.
Escape from Blade Runner.
I have to
watch Brazil again, and so that's always a treat. But yeah, we've been doing research on that kind of stuff, and it should be fun.
All right. Well, I have to take it off that topic. I want to get to some questions that were specifically for Serpent and Staglands. But I will say Brazil, that imagery has always stuck with me when, not Robert Downey. You talking to me? Who's that?
Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Robert De Niro. Duh. Come on, Shane. Get with it. When he gets wrapped up in paper and then the paper blows away and he's not there. Such a great. Yeah, Kendall's in there nodding his head. Yeah, it was so dreamlike. Okay, so we've only got a few minutes left here. I'm going to have to wrap here in a few minutes and then move to my next segment. So this is going to be kind of like when the game shows, when it's like flash round. Let's see if we can work in as much of these as we can. Do you, and I'm only asking this not to imply that you couldn't handle all this, but as a two-person team, this game had so much going on between the video introduction, the voice work, the just the amount, like even the logo has so many cool little artistic elements in it. Do you subcontract anything, or do you guys do everything? Because if y'all did everything, I'm going to send you a trophy.
We did everything.
Wow, that blows me away.
We, for music, we hired somebody to do the music, and then for sounds, we didn't, we don't have time to make Foley, and so we downloaded some sound packs and scavenged stuff from the internet. We made a few of them ourselves, but mostly,
all right,
we got either free stuff or bought some packs and stuff. But
wow, because there's so much detail, like even when the stuff you read and the way I don't know, there's so much detail. I'm just really impressed that y'all did everything. I assumed playing them like they had to subcontract some of this out, so I'm pretty impressed. Okay, has the game difficulty been revised at all since launch? Let me tell you why I'm asking. I have friends that, I mean, they're no newcomers to games at all. I mean, they played a lot of games, and they're like, "Wow, this game is just too hard at the beginning." I did not find it to be too. I found it difficult, but not too hard. I maybe because I was expecting it going in, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just work my way through. Have y'all revised or done any game balance since it first launched?
We have a little bit with certain spells and skills. But overall, the difficulty is where we intended it to be.
Okay, so the amount of mobs, like when you go 3 steps out of the path and you like, whoa, where'd all these guys come from? That has not been revised down or adjusted at all.
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, the beginning of the game was so carefully planned, and you start with those skills like Fearful Light or Slippery Ooze, and that can render any battle really easy
if used right.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But no, we haven't really balanced the game itself that much.
Well, I think what happened then, psychologically, I was prepared going in because there's people whose opinion I respect. They're like, "Whoa, this is hard."
Yeah.
Okay, and this is a question that I want to know. I've seen some other people ask, but okay, you go through where the you're having the dream sequence, and the lady is asking you questions and writing down answers. I'm not looking for spoilers here, but do the answers you give affect the game in any way?
That whole scene, I'll see, Shane, you haven't played that much. It's hard to describe what that scene entails.
Okay.
Without spoiling anything.
It's not just window
effect,
dressing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I talked over you.
Oh, that's fine. A lot of them are, I guess you said window dressing, like your statue at the beginning, or the statue. There's some in Coram, the city in the south of you as the god. They have your animal that you came down when you chose, whatever animal you chose. They have that kind of accompanying your statue. And so there are some subtle references to them, but there's an overarching theme that's more important about that scene that you kind of figure out later.
Gotcha. Okay, so it does. It's not just like Ultima 4 where it determines what class you should be. I mean, there's some stuff going on with those questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just the scene itself. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I've got to move on. I want to get to some questions from the RPG Codex because they took the time. Okay, and like I said, we've got to be super flash answers on these. But what do you think of a turn-based combat system in a future project? They said that you
really
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we really like turn-based, and we're definitely going to be using it for future projects. Okay,
and if you get a chance, you might want to, if you have a chance to go to the RPG Codex and look, there's a thread that says questions for Whalenought, radio interview, because that was from Roshan, and he had some other questions. He said, hey, you brought some new ideas to Real Time with Pause, including the war book, etc. What might be some new ideas that you would try in a turn-based system? I've got to move on, but just to let you know that was asked.
Sure. Okay.
We already talked about, have you made enough sales to keep making games, and what would you better, are you going to do an expansion? Yes. This is from Archangel. He said, if you could do Serpent and the Staglands again from the start, is there anything that you would do, quote unquote, better or different?
I think some of the fundamental stuff when we were starting to design it, maybe we would have done differently, but the focus of the game was really on the adventure. It wasn't like a combat heavy, it wasn't like a Jagged Alliance or like combat heavy focus. It was all kind of in part to put emphasis on the adventure of your characters, and I think that we did as best as possible. So we probably wouldn't have changed any of that, but some of like the underlying systems and the infrastructure of the game, we might have, we have more experience now, so we might have done stuff differently for that, though.
Okay. And Fairfax also asks, are you going to stick to PC for the future? He said Isle of Bones looks cool, but he's not interested in mobile gaming.
That's fair, because neither are we. We're definitely doing PC in the future.
Okay. So you're sticking with PC. I'm a PC gamer. I mean, I'll play console, I'll play mobile, but I'm a PC gamer first. And I think that there's, it's a really rich platform. So we have here. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say absolutely. I mean, that's where our heart is. So that's where we're going to be sticking.
Cool. Now with PC, are these also on Mac and Linux, or is it just Windows for the moment?
It's on all three.
All three. Okay, I thought so, but I wasn't sure. Okay, Ninjerk, who we gave a shout out to earlier, he said he wasn't crazy about the UI. Okay, do you plan to approach the design of your UIs? How do you plan to approach the design of your UIs for the next project? Is it going to change? Now, this is a question that was asked. I haven't had a lot of problem with the UI, but, other people may have. So I figured that was a fair enough question to let you address.
Sure. I think, we get that. We've heard that before, and I think a lot of the UI limitation were due to the size of the screen. Like I said, we kind of started with DOS sizes, and a lot of the UI was a result of us wanting to either have like lots of scrollable little fields around the screen or like a ton of pop-ups, and we chose the former. So we could have done things differently, and we're certainly doing things differently in the future since we're not using such a size constraint. But yeah, going forward, we'll probably have a much more easy-to-use system.
Great.
For people.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing that's tripped me up in the UI, it took me some experimenting to figure out that I have to click on Woodwise and then click on my character to do detect traps. That's really about the only.
Sure.
I was like, oh, okay. But I went and read the manual, and guess what? It's in the manual. So
there you go. Yeah.
Okay, so and last, this is from Immortal, RPG Codex user Immortal. He said, "Who's the cutie pie at the beginning?" And I guess he's talking about the lady that is that some actress or?
That's one of my friends.
Oh, okay. Well,
we coerced her into acting for us.
Well, express to your friend that Immortal thinks that she's a cutie pie, and he spelled it QT, the letter QT, and then he did 3.14, and I was like, it took me a second. I was like, oh, cutie pie.
Oh, wow,
okay,
very
yeah.
clever.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, it says clever. All right, well, Joe, Hannah, unfortunately, time is a predator that stalks us all our lives, so I've got to wrap the interview. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that Serpent and Staglands still keeps selling. I'm a fan. You are more than welcome to come back on the show and talk about the expansion or any future projects. So let's please stay in touch.
Oh, thank you so much,
Thank
Shane,
you.
for
you're
having
welcome.
us. And good luck with your Let's Play on it.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Sorry,
well, I have to ask, and I got to do super quick. Since, it's one of those rare opportunities I'm actually talking with the people who made the game. I went under Lumentarg, all the levels, and I didn't find a dude with a one-person raft. Do I need to go back and look again?
He's to the east on the second level.
Okay. You know what? That's the one little. Okay. Anyway, I got to let y'all go. Ah! All right. Thank y'all so much. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks a lot.
too.
Shane.
All right. Thanks. All right. Kendall, let's go ahead and cut to a break. And when we come back, we're going to have a review of Justice League Gods and Monsters.
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays. Privately owned and licensed by the Arkansas State Police, Rock City Alarm Company has been in business since 1996, specializing in sales, installation, servicing, and monitoring of burglar alarms and fire alarms for the state of Arkansas. Rock City Alarm provides service for residential and commercial alarms, and now provides cellular monitoring with remote arm and disarm. Just call John Hardiman at 501-541-8747. That's John Hardiman at 501-541-8747. Did you know that your business can provide its employees with the same benefits packages as even the largest Fortune 500 companies, often at no direct cost to you, the business owner, and while saving money at the same time? If you've always thought that you would like to offer those big company benefits to your employees but thought that there was no way, let our team at the Make 'em Teague Agency come by and show you how it can be possible and how simple it is to put into place. We offer major medical and group and individual plans, on or off exchange, dental and vision, life products, cancer, accident, and more. These benefits create that ever so priceless commodity known as loyalty. And yes, we are ACA certified. We even offer these same benefits on the individual basis if you're just a one-person entrepreneur or making things happen on your own. Give us a call today at 501-838-6827 to schedule your no-obligation on-site consultation. The Make 'em Teague Agency is serving all of Arkansas and surrounding states. 501-838-6827. Give us 1% of your trust, and we'll earn the other 99. In business for over 15 years, the Hillcrest Doghouse provides full grooming, bathing, boarding, and daycare services for just about all breeds with knowledgeable and friendly staff, including a licensed groomer with over 10 years experience. The Hillcrest Doghouse uses all natural shampoos, including a pesticide-free flea shampoo. All kennels are situated where we work, which means your companion is rarely left alone, providing the benefit of full interaction with our friendly staff. Additionally, we walk your dog at least 3 times a day to ensure a happy day. Grooming and boarding packages are also available at great prices. The Hillcrest Doghouse is located at 3924 West Markham Street in Little Rock. Call the Hillcrest Doghouse at 501-296-9800. That's 501-296-9800. We're also on Facebook. Find us and like us.
All right, and we're back. Listen, folks, make sure to support the sponsors of the show. We're blessed to have them, and this show is on the air because of them. So, and if you do call them, make sure to tell them Shane Plays sent you. I've got another ad. We have a new sponsor that's been on for a couple of weeks now. I want to read this one. We'll do an audible, which is nothing like an audible in football. But JLM Tree Servicing can take care of your tree servicing needs. They can be reached at 501-351-7714, online at jlmservicing.com, and on Facebook. Do you have limbs touching the roof or killing your grass with too much shade? Leaves collecting in the pool or gutters? Need to remove that unsightly dead tree? JLM Servicing is insured, provides free estimates, serves all of Central Arkansas, and doesn't collect payment until job well done. JLM Tree Servicing, 501-351-7714, online at jlmservicing.com or on Facebook. Tell JLM Tree Servicing and all my sponsors that Shane Plays sent you. All right, we're going to jump right into a review of Justice League Gods and Monsters, which is the newest DCU animated film, just released on Tuesday, I think July 29th. Bruce Timm is back. He's the creative force behind, Batman the Animated Series, Superman animated series, Justice League Unlimited, really well known. And he's back. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to tell a new take on the Justice League. It's a whole different universe. The names are the same, but the people wearing the names are different. So you got Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but they're different people underneath the names. And here's a little sample of kind of the difference. Kendall, you got that queued up for us? This is from the movie.
Why do you even listen? They hate us.
Don't let the crowds down there fool you, Becca. They are not la gente común. The real people. There are many who would like nothing more than for us to take over. Tell her, Kirk.
22% domestically, 29% worldwide.
Revolutions have been built on less. Imagine ending all the ideological squabbling. No more war, no more insurrections. All those little dots down there connected to a single productive purpose. A world brought together as one.
Under us.
Under us.
You just got less sexy.
Okay, so that's kind of, could you imagine Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, we know having that discussion? No. Okay, so, this is, Superman's still a Kryptonian, but he's not Kal-El. Batman is basically a scientist who gave himself vampire-like powers through a rash use of medical science. And Wonder Woman is a new god. The Kirby new, Darkseid, Highfather, those new gods. And she has an indestructible sword with a boom tube built into it. It's super cool. Love the sword. So here's the thing. I don't want to give any spoilers, but the story is great. The characters are great. There's a mystery that needs to be solved. And, these heroes manage to walk the line. They are good guys. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't usually become an instant fan of something. But I'm an instant fan of this version of the Justice League. Loved almost everything about it. One thing I don't like about the movie, they went PG-13. They went a little bit darker. There's some profanities and whatnot in it, 2 or 3, that I think could have been done without. But overall, excellently well done. And be aware if you go in, this Justice League will kill. Okay, if people unleash deadly force on them, they will unleash deadly force back. So, just be aware there's that tone to it. But the theme is, it's Justice League Gods and Monsters. Are they gods? Are they monsters? Are they heroes? What are they? Where are they going to land when everything is said and done? And they don't mind telling the government exactly what the pecking order is. Superman has no problem going, the government's like, we're trying to protect you. And he's like, wait a minute, who's protecting who here? So it's a whole different take on the Justice League. I enthusiastically recommend it. It's in that great Justice League animated or, animated DC style that we're used to. Great mystery, good characterizations, and great fights and all that too. And one thing I want to mention I think is interesting. This Superman was raised by migrant workers and not Kansas Kents, which really resonates with the discussions of immigration and illegal immigration and all those things right now. And he has a completely different outlook on life because of what he's seen being raised by basically Hispanic immigrants, as opposed to, being in the middle of the farmland. So, and the last thing I'll say, Darkseid smiles. Like a real smile, not like an evil smile. So you have to watch it just for that. Definitely check it out. The full review is on shaneplays.com. Check this movie out. We're going to cut to another break, and when we come back, we're going to, my friend Matt Barton has recorded a great audio on the history of SimCity.
Call Chapman Service today for all your air conditioning and electrical concerns. 0% financing till January 2020 for a limited time. Voted best of the best for 5 years in a row. It's hard to stop a train. Chapman Service, all you want in an air conditioning and an electrical company. Nothing you don't.
Comic book lovers, Michael Tierney's local comic book stores meet all of your comic book needs with friendly service. Visit the comic book store on Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock or Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock. And don't forget to click on over to the wildstars.com website. I personally have been a customer of Michael's since the mid-'80s, and I trust him for my reserve list still today. Michael knows comics. In addition to being in business for 34 years, he has written multiple columns for comic magazines, is an Overstreet price guide advisor, and publishes his own comic book series, The Wild Stars. Trust me, these stores are run by a comic book lover for comic book lovers. Remember, for all of your comic book needs with friendly service and to get your copies of The Wild Stars, make sure to visit the comic book store on Treasure Hill Road in Little Rock or Collector's Edition on JFK Boulevard in North Little Rock, and visit thewildstars.com to learn more.
All right, and we're back from that break. Remember to support our sponsors and tell them that Shane Plays sent you. You can also support the show yourself at patreon.com/ShanePlays. Listen, we're going to wrap the show today. My friend Matt Barton, who does this incredible interview TV show on YouTube called Matt Chat, and that's linked at shaneplays.com in the show notes, has recorded a 5-minute kind of history of SimCity, which is a just classic game in multiple iterations. We're going to end the show on that. Remember, it's Matt Chat. Go to YouTube, look for Matt Barton or Matt Chat. Check this guy's show out and listen to what he has to say about SimCity. I'll catch you guys next week when we are going to interview Battle Bards, which are doing audio tools for tabletop RPGs.
Will Wright's dad. Pretty interesting guy. He liked to take his son, Will, outside on the porch at night, and they would look up at the stars. He'd point at one and ask young Will, he's only 7 years old, "What kind of people do you imagine live there? What kind of civilizations exist?" Will Wright's dad died a few years later. Leukemia. He was gone, but the stars were still there. Young Will grew up with no real desire to make games for a living. What he really wanted to do was travel to the stars, to found a colony in space, to be among the first humans to live out their lives on an alien. It wasn't until much later that Will got interested in computers. One of his friends had introduced him to the Apple II. It was one of the first personal computers. Personal in the sense that you could actually afford to buy one, but also personal in that it was simple enough that a single person could fully understand it. And Wright was one. Wright played a lot of games on that Apple II, but there was one program that really captured his imagination. It was a computer simulation written back in 1970. It was a simulation of life itself. It was a simple simulation. There were only 4 rules, but they were infinite possibilities. Wright would take the principles from this simulation and integrate them into his very first game, Raid on Bungling Bay. It looked like a simple helicopter shoot-'em-up game. But what no one really seemed to notice at the time was that the world that the helicopter flew over was alive. It was fun to make that game, and it did well. But the part he kept coming back to was that Clockwork universe. He wanted to make another game where the Clockwork universe wouldn't be part of the background, but the foreground, the game itself. One day, Wright was having a conversation about this with his next-door neighbor, who just so happened to be a city planner. His neighbor gave him a book called Urban Dynamics by J. Wright Forrester. The theme of that book was that the systems that regulate cities are so complex that they far exceed the capabilities of any person. But perhaps a computer could be built that could understand these systems just as well as Wright himself understood his Apple II. Wright's game, which he called Micropolis, wasn't like any game that his publishers had ever seen, and that wasn't a good thing. Nobody he knew in the industry would take it seriously. But there were 2 people outside that industry who didn't know anything about games. Bill Barrell, a writer for Newsweek, and Jeff Braun, an investor. They didn't know what a good game was supposed to look like, but they loved